people don't like hitting rock bottom, but actually hitting rock bottom is literally the universe's way of introducing you to a portal to your next level reality.
Welcome back, my two favorite people, to Billion Dollar Baby. This podcast is all about becoming your greatest version, and I know you guys are both all about that, so I'm excited to dive deep into that. The reason I really wanted to bring them both back on is because you guys have such unique ways of looking at similar situations and different perspectives that I feel like the viewers can really grow from. So to dive into the first question, how much do you guys believe that law of attraction is just about being a little bit delulu or delusional?
You can take this one because I know that you talk about this a lot.
I
so
do.
You take this one first.
I have strong opinions about this. So I do believe that you have to be delusional. I do believe that Delulu is the Salulu, but I also don't think that you can gaslight yourself. So if you're trying to believe something and you just don't believe in it and you're like staring, it's like I feel like when I was first getting into like this self-development world, it was like stare in a mirror and tell yourself, I am loved, I am light, I am beautiful every day. And like probably at some point that does sink in, but I believe it's 92% of your thoughts are in your subconscious mind. And when you're thinking those thoughts, they still do generate feelings. They generate the frequency. And so if your subconscious mind doesn't believe it, then you're just kind of like clashing with it. And so that's why all of the work that I teach ends up being reprogramming your subconscious mind, so that then you can and coming up with thoughts that you do believe in. So and I think that you have to kind of bridge your way sometimes to the delusional thoughts. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, like you put it so well, because the way I look at it is if you're in the space where you're like, fucking, I'm just gonna be Delulu right now, right? Then go like 200 million % into Delulu territory. Totally. Do it, go it. You go for it. You're energetically aligned to be delusional, so fucking go, because that is a message from. Sorry, am I not so? No, go. That is a message from your higher self in the universe. It's like you are meant to step into this now, so freaking go, right? But like you said, if there's too much of this cognitive dissonance going on, you're like, I'm not feeling it. I'm just not, right? Forcing it is actually going to create more resistance, because the universe is probably trying to actually get you to see something that you need to see or heal or release, right? Through your insecurities or the fears or whatever's actually coming up. It's not asking you to bypass. It's not asking you to pretend like it's not there. It's asking you to heal it. So you'll find, and I'm sure you, like what you were saying, right? When you heal and then when you actually get into that alignment, then it's so much easier to go, yeah, I am the shit. Yeah, I can do that. You know what I mean? But you can't like bypass your way completely to that. There's stages, I think.
I also think I was coaching a client on this today that like the more you've done this work, it's like almost the bigger you can leapfrog into something that does seem delusional. Like I have a client who her whole mission is helping women become millionaires and like specifically like 2-figure millionaires, right? Like that. And her whole philosophy is that it's easier to go from 1 to 10 million than 0 to 1 million. And I see the same with follower count when I'm coaching clients, is that if someone comes to me and they're trying to get their first 1,000 followers, that's harder than to go from 500,000 to 1 million, because you kind of know the skill. So you can kind of, it's like once you know the skill of manifesting, you can bypass a little more, I think.
Yeah, I feel like it's also like using the momentum of, you're at a point of frequency where you can actually now use the momentum to release faster. So so you can
that makes so much sense.
Yeah, so you can like use your mind and all of these things. And this is when you can use affirmations and visualization in your mind to like propel you through, and like almost, you get to this point where it's like you can shed a lot of stuff a lot quicker. And then it is asking you to just accelerate through to the next level. And that's like the quantum shift.
I also, have y'all experienced this when you are like quantum leaping or jumping or whatever, where that momentum is going so fast that you feel like you're like on a roller coaster and it's like pulling you back and you're like, oh my God, we're moving.
Yeah, right. Okay, because I was just like thinking about this like, I don't know, a week ago. But it's like, it because at that point, you're allowing the energy of the universe to flow through you. That is like the sweet spot where it feels like it's not even you anymore. Like, yes, of course it's you and it's your potential because you're using the flow of the universe to like activate your potential, but it's really like you being in flow with the universal flow, right? So that's why it's like, oh my God, I'm not even controlling the ship anymore. I just have to like, follow my, and this is where you get energy to like do a whole bunch of stuff that like otherwise, if you're not in that alignment, it would just feel like a drag and like really, really hard because it's not just you. You're actually being assisted.
Yeah.
That's why it's so powerful, like to really be in a place of when you're deciding to like manifest or move forward on something you want, it's so important of the state you're currently in. And that's why one thing was a big learning lesson for me is like when you are feeling down, it's okay to just feel down. And then like when you are feeling inspired, like milk those opportunities and align. And that's the time to visualize or to say the things you want. So when someone feels like really stuck in a situation, maybe they're not like fulfilled with their career, they're kind of like, life feels repetitive. They like wake up, they go on a walk, they go to work, they watch their favorite show, and they go to sleep, and they do it again the next day and the next day, and they're not feeling like inspired. Like, what would you say to people like that?
I would say take a left turn. Like if the momentum that you're going is not creating the life that you want, then sometimes you gotta just like, and I think a hack is like, what does my inner child want? Right. And like, that's why this weekend, me and my friends are going to Disneyland. We're like, this is what, like, left turn. But I also think that there's something to be said. Oh man, no, I just blanked. That's my answer.
No,
answer.
It's such a good answer. I literally was talking about this earlier to my community, like literally this, because I just got back from Disneyland. Which is
that's so funny. I love that.
So that is so funny, right? Like, and it didn't make sense for me to go to Disneyland at this time. It's really far drive for me, all of that stuff, yada, 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 right? But I went, and I am so glad that I went. It was a left turn, right? Because when I got back, the next day I was tired, but this new energy, I was allowing this new energy to actually activate within me, because if I just kind of like sat at my computer or I sat at home and I was just doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? I would actually be in resistance. Like you can actually be in resistance to the flow or the energy that wants to come through you, the new energy. And I feel like when we wake up every day and we just do the same thing over and over again, a lot of times it's because we're actually in resistance to new things that want to come through us. So literally just like being like, I'm just going to have fun. I'm just going to like take a left turn right now. It actually changes things up. And then the universe is like, oh, good. They're in receiving mode of something different. Let me like inject them with some new inspiration,
That's so cool. And that's so true. And it's crazy to me because as we get older, and this is like, I don't know why I have this, but I have Peter Pan syndrome of like getting older. And it's because I watch like, when people are much older, they get in the routine, and you can tell like once you get older, there's not as much excitement about life, or like they feel like you could just see like some people once they're a lot older, they kind of like give up on trying to create a life they love.
I don't see that for you, just to be clear.
Thank you. And I feel like once I got like into my 30s, I started to be like, okay, I go to work, I do this, I do that. And like, I even noticed myself needing to like get excited about things again. So that's a big point of like, okay, if you're feeling that, you need to like switch up the energy, like do something completely different.
See, I almost feel like I'm having the opposite problem where I feel like I've been moving so fast and I need to like slow it down because and I think there is a part of me that feels a little bit of like a scarcity around things being exciting because I feel like I just finally came out of, my divorce and like a depressive episode that came with that and working through like so much trauma, through PTSD and all of that. And so now that I'm like feeling good, I'm like, we got to take every opportunity that comes to us.
No, I think you're supposed to go.
But it's like, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like,
girl, you can handle it.
Are we sure? Are we sure?
Yes.
I don't know.
That's great.
Yeah. And
but these are the times, like we said, to milk it.
Yes.
Yes.
You're supposed to milk the fuck out of it. Sorry. Yeah. Do I swear too much?
You can cuss.
Okay.
I love that.
Right.
Go ahead. It's passionate.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. And
passionate. It serves a purpose.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you swear at the correct times too, which I think is important.
Oh, I just swear all the time.
No, but you do it appropriately.
I think it's important.
My do it appropriately.
Do it appropriately.
seriously, I'm writing my book right now, and my developmental editor, shout out Natalie Bloom, she's fucking incredible. But I was like, do I swear? Because I was raised Mormon, so I wasn't allowed to swear. And so she was like, oh, no, you do it the perfect, like you do it appropriately, where some people are just, but I think when you're speaking and like when you're using it for emphasis, it's correct.
Yeah, it makes you
so now I'm
deeply.
I'm giving you that compliment.
Oh, thank you. Because there's like no words sometimes. I'm trying to transmit the energy to you, and the only word that comes out is apparently,
fuck.
yeah.
Exactly.
It's the only thing that can come out sometimes.
You know what I just randomly thought of? Vision boards. How much do you guys believe in them? Say someone was to like be like, okay, I feel in a rut or I feel stuck. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to print that house I want and the guy that I want and these things. Like, what place do you need to be in to like really have those things aligned? Because all these things are just like tools, but not all of them can work unless you're in the right place, correct? So if someone was going to go make that vision board, what do you feel like state they need to be in when creating this like dream life that they want to move towards?
I do them pretty much monthly. So
Wow.
I am very into them, but I also think, and I just do it on Pinterest. Like it's like I have a board for every month.
Cute.
And it's very low key. It's not like it's the first of the month. So now I'm going to do my vision board, but I just feel kind of called to get into that inspiration. And it's like wild how accurate the things are that end up manifesting. And I think there's something to be said for like, I know my human design is specifically that my there's like your sense or whatever that's the strongest. Mine is actually scent. So I manifest better with scent than with vision boards, but I do really like them. But I think if someone wants to do it, instead of going like, because there was a time that I did it and I just don't feel like it was very effective, where it was like I was trying to quantum leap with a vision board instead of like, no, what's the next month gonna look like? And that kind of, because sometimes I think when your dreams are too far away, then you just start to be like, this is impossible. And so then it starts to become discouraging. Whereas when you can like track your progress and be like, oh my God, like this month, I just like, and it's just random shit, but it feels like you get these little like universal winks of like, oh, I randomly pinned this gym. And then I swear to God, the exact gym that my hotel had that I didn't even know I was going to go on this trip kind of thing.
So true.
That then continues to build momentum. What do you think?
And then it continues to build your confidence in your manifestations, which then makes you be like, okay, I'm moving, I'm getting things, like, because you're doing small wins. That's cool. I'm gonna do that.
I'm gonna have a very different answer to this, but that's why we're here.
Good.
That's why we're here. That's why we're conversation. I don't do vision boards really, like, so. And we talked about this actually the last time, where I will like, so the way I do vision boards is like when I already know that something's going to come into my field and I'm almost just like confirming it to myself that it is on its way, is when I do a vision board, because I'm kind of different in that like I love to be surprised by the universe, because I always know that the universe has a bigger plan for me than my logical mind could even think. So for me, like the quantum jumps that I go through, they are never like I could have never seen it. I could have never predicted it with my head. And so that's why personally, even though I do know vision boards are really powerful, personally, just my personality, I like things spontaneous or whatever, I leave it open for the universe to deliver something that I can't even fathom or that I can't even like think that I want, because I actually have this weird fear, and maybe this is my fear, that like I'm going to box myself into something that's less than what is actually possible, which is why I just focus on like energetically upgrading my state of energy and my state of being, because I know, we all know this, when we do that, the universe is going to deliver to us what is a match to that state of being and frequency.
Mm-hmm. So if, say you were in a place where you wanted to manifest something new, how would you go about it?
Like, okay, give me an example of that.
Like, okay, say you wanted to manifest, like, I want it to be something different. What is something that she could be trying to manifest, and what
like,
state she gets
Well, I guess
into?
I'm just curious, like, do you have, like, you sound like a very non-specific manifester.
I am pretty non-specific.
Which is amazing. And I also just love this conversation, because I think in general, when I got into spirituality and all of this, I was like, there's a way to do this. And it's like, no. It's between you and your God. You know what I mean? But like, do you ever say like, oh, there's a financial goal that I want to manifest, or are you just focused on the feeling and then allowing that to come in?
So it's really interesting because there have been times where I'm like, yeah, there's this goal, this specific goal that I want. The problem that I had with that, and then I would like usually manifest it, but the problem I had with it is once I actually had it, I was like, I didn't feel any excitement from it. It's kind of weird. I'm an interesting person though. Okay, I'm not like most people. I like the adventure of life. I like the surprises. I like the spontaneity. I like the things that are just not logical. And so I will have like sort of a goal, but then sometimes I'm like. But then again, I kind of want to avoid the contraction around that goal. So I'll be like, okay, kind of a number. But now I actually don't even do that. So there was a time when I was doing it. But now I'm like, I don't even want to do that. Because like, even if, let's say, I made less money this year, but a new opportunity that I couldn't see from left field that feels so much more aligned comes through, I am 100% always going to take that new opportunity that's going to take me on a new adventure to places I've never thought of before versus just like $1 million or $2 million. Cause like, but this is my personality.
But it sounds like you have like a really deep trust with the universe or God or whatever.
Dude, you know what?
Yeah,
my dad actually said that to me when I was telling him that. He's like, it just sounds like you just trust this, like you just trust the universe, because he doesn't get it. He actually like admonished me a little bit, and he's like, I don't know if you're grateful for the things that like, and I'm like, but all the things that have happened to me, I didn't freaking plan out. It just happened.
It's amazing that like, I mean, and I'm just complimenting you because I think that there are so like, I've had like, I could look back retroactively and be like, totally the best things in my life I didn't plan and it was never what I thought, in hindsight's 2020. But when I'm in the moment, I'm like, but now I'm going to control it. Like,
of course. I didn't say I'm not human.
Oh, okay.
Dude,
okay.
I was like, wow. Dude, I have those contracting moments all the freaking time.
I was like, I want to live like that.
I know. I'm like, sign me up.
No, don't.
A pill I can take?
No, I have scarcity. I have fear. I have shit come up where I'm like, no, Paget, what are you doing? You're sabotaging yourself. But then it's like, I mean, we're all in this space, I feel. We're like, but like your higher self is always taking care of you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like it is always delivered, right? As long as you just looked out for you and you were just upgrading you, it's always delivered. It's always
I want her to walk me through her thought process real quick. So your thought process is something comes up that you want. Say it's like, 3 million followers on Instagram. Your thought comes up and then you're like, okay, just delete it because I trust the universe that it will happen? Or like, what's your thought process?
No. See, that's what I mean. I don't even like
She's
doing...
like, I don't even think 3 million followers.
Yeah, I don't even like doing that because that's like, to me, I'm like, but like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? So then I ask the question, but what does that actually mean? Like, what does that mean? So I look at that as a consequence or like a side thing to whatever it is that's actually happening, which is like, hopefully, me just feeling like better and better and better about life and enjoying life. That would be a consequence. That is not a goal for me personally. But at the same time, if people feel aligned and they're like, you know what, I want to increase my followers, this is the way that's going to happen, then that's their path.
Well,
right? That's their path.
It sounds like also that it's just like the byproduct of like the result or whatever is the byproduct, and you're good at like surrendering and allowing it to be the byproduct instead. Right. Which I'm a believer that our desires are our dharma, and they lead us to our purpose and to how we fulfill, especially with fame, right? Like, yes. I believe that like, I have a soul contract with millions of people, and so I'm supposed to, so that's why the desire is there. But I think there's something to be said for like being able to detach from it though too, because I think in my brain, like when I was growing up, I was like, this means I'm the next big actress. Like I'm the next, and I like could only see it in that way.
We both have acting backgrounds.
Oh my God.
I know.
Good for us.
I know. But do you see how we thought, okay, it was acting, but then it led us, but we needed that in order for it to lead us to where we are. So the universe knew better.
Yeah. But I do. And I actually don't think that I'm fully done with acting. I mean, like I'm working on some projects right now, but I think in general, there's still, even though I can see, this greater purpose and I'm expressing myself more and I have more creative freedom and I have the time freedom and, all of the things, there still is some like grief around this dreamer identity that I thought it was going to look like.
like, okay, so I do want to mirror that back to you, because I've had to go through that too, where it's like, oh, but like I was focusing on that for so dang long. Like, what was the point of that? Like, and I still ask the question, what is, and you know, obviously I can say, okay, logically that was the point of it, but I still have, I'm still a human. I still have some remorse or some grief around like, well, what happened with that? Because I was so passionate about that. But like you said, you were like, okay, I don't know if I'm totally done with it. Like, who knows? Okay,
Right.
Whitney, because like, what if that was like, the universe was like, no, I want to deliver that to you, but in a better way. This is the faster way to actually get there, and the way that's going to make you the most fulfilled and happy and whole.
And I do see that. Like, I'm also realizing, I'm like, the path that I thought that I was going down, if I had quote unquote made it in that way,
Yes.
I would have had no control.
Yes,
And
yes.
now I'm like, oh, now I have autonomy in it. And I like it, the power dynamic has shifted.
I was also gonna say the coolest thing ever will be to see you acting on a movie, because someone then can watch your entire journey too. Imagine how
know.
Oh my
inspiring that is
God.
to see you go through like the
Yes.
mental constructs and releasing certain things and teaching others, and then literally like
no, I know. And
so
I
it's like the
actually-
journey is gonna like affect people even more too and love you more as an
totally.
actress
And
too,
it's
so.
I actually had a last week I had a producer reach out to me, and she pitched, and I like, she was like, I have a project for Whitney in mind, and I went and was like, oh, I kind of just went into the old narrative. I haven't been acting since COVID really, and so I was like, okay, producer, I need to do a little song and dance, and I get there and she's pitching me, and it was like such a weird shift, but I posted something about how I was going to this meeting, and someone commented on it, and they were like, I remember when your agent dropped you 5 years ago, and they're like, it's amazing to see how far you've come since then. And so it was just kind of that reminder of like, oh yeah, I think that is why.
Well, like, and I'll just say, from like when I was an actor, it was such a disempowering relationship that I had with acting,
Right.
that I had with an acting career. So, right. So if the universe is like, yeah, you're not going to manifest that like from that state.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And so
100%.
it's like, okay, it's going to deliver to you another path where you can find and remember your power, so that if it comes back around in the way that it's going to come back around, which is a lot more easy, right? Then you are going to be in a completely different space to actually like carry out your career or passion or whatever in the energy that you actually wanted.
That I
to be.
wanted it. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
That's so true. Let's go into law of detachment. So we want something, acting, more money, love, so forth. I'm seeing this right now with love. I was just talking to them about this before. Is like the more that I'm focused on, I'm dating someone new, and I can literally feel that the moment I started now liking him also a lot more, it's like now I'm like getting anxiousness, and the more that I just detach, then it's like, then they chase you, and they can literally energetically feel it. It doesn't matter if you think you're acting chill or whatever. So law of detachment comes in like every area of our lives. And so what are your guys' thoughts about that, and how someone can work with that?
I guess using the example of love, like I always feel weird talking about relationship, just because I'm like, there's no like finality of it. And like, it feels like in our society, it's like, unless you are married to this person, you can't claim that it's like, I'm still like, he and I are still figuring each other out. So like, but it is successful right now, and is making both of us really happy. And I do, want to build a life with him, but it just feels vulnerable, I guess, to talk about. But I think when he and I connected, I had really finally come to a point where I was like, if this is all that my life is, if I only have my child, my dog, and my creativity, can I be okay with that? And like, it really took selling myself on my current circumstances, and then ended up that we connected, and I was like, whoa, I'm actually not ready for this. So I ended things, and then he reached back out. And then, so now we've been together for like eight-ish months, I think. And so it, to me, I think was also just an example of like, when you detach, and also just the things that are meant for you aren't going to pass you, even if you're like trying to sabotage it. But it's been like, it really has tested my anxious attachment as well. And every time I go to, but I've started to notice that anytime I'm anxious and whatever, it's like, I'm I'm trying to fill a like childhood wound with him, and he senses that. And so it's continually, and then again, every time it comes up, just being like, okay, if he disappeared off the face of the earth, if he, you know, X, Y, and Z, whatever, I can be okay. And like coming back to that like okayness and that wholeness within myself usually is the way. But it's fucking hard. I don't know.
And it's even anxiously attached to things that you want in your life too, like
100%.
success, money. You don't feel good enough because you don't have it.
Yeah. So like what you just said is, I think the energetic reason why that happens is because attachment, you know, Buddhism says this, all the religions and everything. Like when you're in a state of attachment, you're actually giving your power away to the thing that you think you need in order to be complete, right? And so you are literally just lowering your frequency or your energetic state and giving your power away to be like, oh, that's going to make me happy. That's going to make me complete. That's going to make me whole. And that in itself, if you just think about frequency, is not at a high frequency state, right? And so the way, like energetically, when you're able to, now it's a process. It's not like you can just, because like Whitney said, like you had to process it. It's not like you can just go, okay, I'm not attached. Yeah. Right? But when you can...
I tried, to be clear. Really tried. I was like, no, universe, I actually don't want this.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I actually love being single.
But like when you actually can energetically process through, okay, like what is that thing that like wants me to give my power away, or that lack within me, or that insecurity within me, or that wound, or whatever it is within me, and then you come more whole into yourself at a deeper level, all of a sudden, yeah, like of course the person's going to call you again, because now you're more in your power, you're more magnetic, right? The frequency you're sending out is at a higher level. Now, I want to actually just like talk about this really quickly. That's why I actually think a lot of times when people are super attached to their manifestations, one of the best freaking things that could ever happen for you is your worst fear being realized, is for you to like get to the bottom of whatever it is that you're super attached to, for you to realize and come to the place, right, where you're like, oh my God, I am not destroyed. I am so much bigger than this. I am so much more whole than this. And you can really claim your power back. And from that place, all of a sudden, you have the ability to now manifest the thing from more of a place of wholeness, from more of a place of completeness and confidence.
Okay, that's really good. I want to like get it to like a very basic childlike level for anyone listening, because that's definitely very like great information. Okay, so simply, if they, for an example, wanted to manifest more money, they don't feel good enough about themselves because they don't make enough money and it's making their value feel lower, how do they go about like detaching, or what you just said, actually, your teaching of it?
Yeah. So, I mean,
because it's like, what's the rock bottom they need to get to feeling okay with being broke?
Well,
like, what is it?
Well, so that's the thing, is that the universe is actually going to present you initially with opportunities to release the energies that are keeping you attached to the thing, that are creating the low self-worth, that makes you really want the thing, all of that stuff. It's going to present you with opportunities. It's going to present you with triggers for you to sit with and be like, ooh, that didn't feel good. Ooh, that doesn't feel good. Ooh, right? And for you to heal those along the way. But still, if you're still like, you know, trying to hold on from the old way of going about manifesting it, from like, no, you don't understand. I need this in order to feel whole. And you're not letting go. And like, let's say, in order to manifest money, you're operating from control and fear. So you're like, push. And the universe is like, yeah, that's not like the best way to do it. And you're kind of doing it from low self-worth. And you're kind of doing it from lack. And you ain't listening to the universe being like, let the F go. Because there's a better way to do this, right? Then the universe, this is what I'm talking about. The universe will probably go like, all right, we're just going to give you nothing. We're actually probably going to maybe bankrupt you, or we're going to take away your fun, or whatever it is, so that you can finally learn the lesson that this is not your identity, that this is not who you are. But if you have the awareness to understand the signs of the universe as it presents itself to you through the triggers and you know, all that stuff that's coming up, the scarcity, the lack, the fear, all that stuff that's coming up in the process, and you're willing to let go of your old way of trying to create it, you don't have to go through that. You don't have to go through that. But most people, they don't know. and it's hard, and control is hard to release. Like, it's a motherfucker. So most people will have to go to some low point in order to reset the relationship with manifesting that thing.
Can I give an example of this? So
Yes.
I was living in an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, and I just was like, I think I need a third room for a studio. And it felt expansive. And then the fear came in, right? Oh, I don't know if I'm ready. Like, I don't know if I can have this. I don't know what that would, like, I had just become a single mom. Like, so I had this whole identity attached to what it means to be a single mom. And I don't know, just all these things. And so I kind of put it off. And then eventually I tried, and there was a unit open. Anyway, it just felt like I kept deprioritizing it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I still had this desire, right? The desire was there. And eventually my apartment had a shit flood, literal sewage flood. And I was like, okay, I get it. I will leave. And I really feel, but then what was interesting is when I moved out, I saw this woman, and she was like, oh my God, you're getting out of here. Like, I'm so happy for you. She's like, I've been wanting to. She's like, my car keeps getting broken into. And I was like, what do you like? And her car was parked right next to mine. She's like, yeah, I've been broken into 6 times. And I'm like, honey, I think that's the universe telling you to get out. Like, I think that's what's happening. And those signs do get louder and louder and louder if you're not listening. Whereas ultimately what ends up happening, this is my belief, is that you can just decide that something is no longer available for you. And like, ultimately, if you want to like, I had this, the first time that I started making what felt like good money, like I think it was the first time I made like $20,000 in 1 month. And I was just like, oh my God, I felt like I had gone to a rock bottom, but really, if we were to break down what thoughts I was thinking, what feelings that I was feeling, it was that I finally said, this is enough. Enough is enough. And I'm changing, and I'm deciding that I'm no longer available for this. And the truth is, you can think that no matter where you're at. You don't have to be at a rock bottom. You can have a desire and just be like, you know what? I'm worthy of that. I'm deciding. And that's kind of where I do think you have to be a little bit delusional, because then the doubts will come up, and you should have to be like, no, I'm worthy of this. Because we all have standards. Mm-hmm. We all have different thresholds of what we believe is acceptable and what we don't. And it's just really about raising that standard and deciding over and over at every new level, like, nope, this is my new standard.
Yeah, I love that too. And that is really true. I think this is where like healthy anger actually, or healthy frustration, healthy anger comes in. I just noticed like with a lot of people, and this is another thing off of that. A lot of people actually have trouble, like let's say people pleasers and things like that. They have trouble actually activating that anger in them, which is actually firepower. Because what you're talking about that, fucking done with that. That actually requires a certain level of self-worth to actually even be able to state that. Like, yes, I'm done with that. I'm done with being treated like that. I'm done with making that amount of money. I'm done with charging that price, right? And a lot of people, though, they're like, well, how do I get there? And a lot of the times it's because they're so disconnected from their anger. And actually, it's like kind of like a two-way thing. Like, you actually have to have a certain level of self-worth to be able to be angry, and you actually need to be able to be angry in order to actually push out, or not push out, but like really state your level of self-worth at the same time.
Well, and can I break that down too? Because I think that what used to be really intimidating for me was like, oh, you don't have a high self-worth or something. And then I'd be like, but how do I, like, whatever. And instead kind of looking at, no, everyone does have a baseline where it is not.
Oh,
okay,
I see what you're saying.
Right?
Yeah,
where it's
yeah.
Like I remember, with money, there are some people that are okay with their bills being delinquent. And there are some people that are like, no, that's not okay. And there are some people that are like, you will never catch me with less than $100,000 in my bank account. Everyone just has a different standard for what's unacceptable.
It's true.
And so I do think that we all have that. It's just about raising that standard to get higher and higher where you want to go.
That's true. That's actually a really good, I like that. Like, where is the floor? Like, where can you energetically get behind the floor?
Exactly.
Of where you're at right now.
Exactly.
Right? And then, yeah.
And I think women really struggle with feeling anger in general. And I think I was coaching a client this morning who was saying she had 2 different options. And she was like, well, I can do this thing. That's a hell yes. Or I can, so it was essentially, she was like, do I go on this trip or do I stay home? And she was like, I know I need to go on this trip. Mm-hmm. And she's like, or I could stay home and sell myself on why it's okay that I didn't go. And I was like, I hear you. You can change your thoughts about that, but that's you just settling. right? Like I really do think the anger, the upset, the like anything that's not a hell yes is there to tell you, no, keep going, like elevate more, ask more of the universe. And sometimes I think we're just so used to settling or like, you know, from trauma or from, you know, childhood shit, whatever it is, we think like, because so many of us have had circumstances that were like, when we were children or when we were whatever, where it's like, I just have to survive. So I'm going to think differently about this and I'm going to be grateful and I'm going to, you know, and I think also it could become kind of like toxic positivity in the manifestation world where it's like, well, I need to be high vibe. And it's like, no, you need to feel those feelings because they're telling you something.
Yes, 100%.
I was also thinking too, like in some areas for people that are listening and they're like, how do I create my like floor? Like in some areas we probably have our values aligned. Like maybe you're someone with work and you're like, no, this is what I expect with my career, or this is what I expect in my relationships, or this is what I expect in my health, but you might not have it in your relationships or with how men treat you or vice versa. And so it's like getting familiar with how you feel in one category and that like value you set, and then getting familiar with like, okay, how can I introduce this in another area?
Oh, that's interesting.
I think like this is, so I coach celebrities, right? And part of that is this is how I define it. So if anyone's listening and they're like, how do I elevate this? So I have like, it's called like the 5 quantum leap relationships. So pick whichever one you're like struggling in the most, or that you feel like it's just kind of like a like kind of just standard whatever. So the first is going to be friends and family. Second is going to be colleagues. Third is going to be romantic relationships. Fourth is going to be money. And then fifth is with your health. So a celebrity, the reason it's like someone who doesn't have to play by conventional rules of society, and it's like they get to have it all. And so whichever one of those you feel like, and it can be kind of insidious. Like I was even noticing that like when I was like, I feel like I'm one of the few, based off of what I hear online, I feel like I am one of the few people that actually has had a really positive experience dating in LA. And like,
I have been fine with it too, but everyone I have on my podcast.
Wait, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean by a bad experience? I mean, I went
just
on
like
87
saying you
first
could
dates.
never meet a guy out here,
or just the like, all men suck, all men are blah blah blah. Same. Like, or
but it's because I have a value with dating. My
exactly
standards of what I expect a man to treat me like. So then I do find them in LA.
Right. Well, and it's the same as like, I mean, I grew up with a dog who was a terrorist. Like, let's be very clear, like a horrible dog, but like so cute. And so then when I had a dog, when I got my first dog, when he had bad behavior, I was like, this is how dogs are. And so then when I got that dog passed away, then I got my dog that's like my soul, like Otto, God bless this dog, but he's so sweet. And I was like, what's wrong with him? I was literally like, I don't think we're that close because he's not biting me and then cuddling with me. But that's how it works with like, you know, relationships, with money, with whatever you saw pattern to you, you're going to think is normal. And so it's just like, and anything better than that will seem unfamiliar. Just
something that just popped up, right? Because like you're talking about, well, you know, and then the 5 different like areas of life. It's like, I just want people to understand at a higher perspective, that's the path you chose. Like that's the journey, specific journey that you at a higher level did choose. Okay. Like to go through in order for you to, because this is about becoming your best self. That's the path of you becoming your best self. So wherever you're struggling or you think you're struggling or whatever, I just want you to understand that it's your gift because it is literally your path, your red carpet of how you become your best self and live your most insane, amazing life. That's so instead of rejecting, be like, how the fuck do I get away from this thing? It's like, no, let me like actually like take this journey. Let me like welcome this journey, and it's going to be hard and it's going to be uncomfortable and a lot of shit's going to come up for me, but like this is what I chose. So how exciting is it that I get this opportunity to evolve and expand and actually go on the path of my dream life?
Yeah, that's so true. I was going to say too, that's why as much as we all hate being sad or having negative emotions or jealousy or insecurities or not feeling good enough, when those thoughts come up, but people want to shove them down and act like they're not there, but they're actually like a sign directing you, like go directly like, hey, there if you want to become your best version. It's crazy. Totally. Yeah, it's like dive in.
And I think it can also be challenging when like from the outside, everything is like good or fine, right? Like that was something with my marriage that like my ex and I were best friends, but neither of us were creating the life that we really, really wanted. And yet, and I know this sounds terrible, but there were times that I was like, I think if he was like abusing me, this would be easier, because it was just like to go from okay to excellent was like, you have to, because when you grow, when you want to become your best self, you do have to abandon the identity, the familiarity, and that can be hard when it's like good enough, and when no one around you would be like, there's a problem here.
Yeah, like you need to up level your life. They're like, you should be grateful.
Exactly. Exactly.
Which is crazy. And then so many people are living in that comfort zone of just like, this is okay. And that's a lot of the world. Like, this is fine.
Totally.
And it's like, and that's the saddest part to me, because I'm like, there's so much of us can like reach our fulfilled life. And that's why I think that my sister was talking about this the other day, and she was like asking herself, like, why do I want to do so much personal growth and constantly work on myself? Like, am I ever done? I'm like, more, next pain, next trauma. And she's like, she had this like intuition knowing of like, she came to this earth this time around to like fulfill or like release all her pain so she can up level to her greatest version. Like, that's her path on this journey now, is to like really shove through all those pains. And some of us have that, and some of us are fearful of that, and some of us just stick in this is okay, It's wild.
Totally. Well, and it's also when you do transcend yourself, it triggers the people around you, especially, and so then it can be very isolating, and it can be upsetting to people or whatever. But and so oftentimes you will like have people in your life be like, why are you?
Is that what happened with your marriage? Is that you like went on this path and then that's when it broke off?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That actually wasn't what I was referencing, but yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I do think that, and not to say that he didn't grow in his own ways for sure, but yeah, I think it created a large chasm when right after college, my dad died, and that really set me on this like deep spiritual and again, he has his own, I'm not trying to say I outgrew him or anything like that, but we definitely grew in different directions and went down different paths. And yeah, and I think for so long, and especially once we had a child together, it was like, well, let's grow together. Let's like, ultimately it was something that for the better. I think he had better foresight than I did, probably, to see like, no, this is like, it ultimately wasn't, I guess, my decision, if that makes sense. But I'm grateful that is how and now I can see, I'm like, oh yeah, no, we just were not.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think you have to get to a place where you really have to like sit with yourself and really understand if something's right for you or not. And I'm in EMDR therapy, and I was telling them about this, but one of the things that my therapist said to me the other day, which I thought was really cool, was, how do you tell the difference between a gut feeling or your intuition compared to an anxious thought? So for an example, this thing isn't right for me. Oh, no, this is right for me. This is okay. I am happy. No, things are good. Or this isn't right for me. Like that knowing. And it's like, how does one get to a place where they can kind of clear the chatter or the anxious thoughts and really can tell the difference between the two, so you can guide yourself better?
Okay, I have a really good example.
Yes.
Recent example. Maybe see if it applies or if you can apply it. The other day I was texting my parents about having dinner at their place, right? And I texted them at 3 something, and then they usually would get back to me right away, but they didn't get back to me, and it was like 8 o'clock, and I was in a lot of fear. I'm like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. They always get back to me. What's going on? They were expecting me for dinner. What's happening? Blah, blah, blah. We talked about this before, right? And I was in so much fear around it. And I was like, I'm going to drive over there and see if anything's wrong or, and then I stopped myself, and I was like, because I thought, oh, this is my intuition. This is my gut. And then I stopped myself, and I was like, no, this is just an opportunity for you to process out the fear. Okay. The fear of like losing someone close to you or whatever it is. And so I actually just stopped myself, and I'm like, no, you're not going to drive over there. You're just going to process through this, and they're going to text you at some point. And they're going to go, hey, we were just busy or whatever. And so I really sat with it, and I did not go over there, right? And I was just sitting with all of this fear of like losing my, like all this stuff was coming up for me. And then after I processed it, and after I actually like just like got not okay with like something bad happening, but I just like got into a neutrality, they texted me. And they're like, oh, sorry, we were over at your sister's, blah, 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 right?
Of course.
And always like that.
And this was the thing, right? Is that, here's the thing. if there's a lot of emotion attached to something, it's probably not your intuition. Okay. If it just like, it just hits you and you're like, it's just like, it could be a thought, depends, because you're like a scent person, right? You might be a visualizing person. It depends on how it, whatever it comes through. If it just comes through, that's your intuition. That's your knowing. If it's attached with like anxiety, fear,
also
not.
So true.
I also think urgency. Like I had this experience that I was like, this is for sure my intuition. And I was like, so basically this troll made this video about me and I was like, you know what, bet I'm going to turn this into something for my advantage. And I did. And it was very forward moving and very productive and very assertive. So it wasn't quite in that like fear anxious, but it was urgent. And in hindsight, I'm like, I didn't need to do that handle it in that way, with that speed. And there's this idea, I was raised Mormon, I'm no longer Mormon, but one of the ideas I love from it is it's called like the still small voice. And I think that to me is more true of my intuition, where it is just this little small, this gentle like nudge.
Yes.
And I think if someone's trying to get clearer about listening to their intuition, the easiest way that I definitely feel like this was how I started was, when I'm trying to decide or listen, figure out, is this fear? Is this my intuition? Whatever. Write down the list. Like usually it comes down to a decision. Do I go down this path? Do I go down this path? Write down all of your reasons for why you would go down either one, and whichever one is coming from fear more, or needing to prove yourself or justify or be the savior of something. That's usually not your intuition.
That's so true.
Yes.
You said an interesting point too that I want to get into. That kind of has to go with what you just said too. If you have the anxious thought, like you with your parents, or having all the anxiety, you're sitting in the car, a big piece of this is like we have these things that pop up. It's like a scary, fearful thought. And like I said, a lot of people shove it down. So walk us through how you emotionally like process that so that you can kind of like let it subside and not take control.
Yeah, I mean, you can literally just simplify it. And obviously it's kind of like, so for me, because this is what I just process things. I'm a processor. Literally every single day I'm processing something. Oh my God, it's freaking tiring. Holy shit. But anyway, because I'm just a natural processor, like all I need to do is just like be with it and just feel it. And so this is for most people too, right? It's going to take more practice if you're new to it, but I just be with it and then I just notice it. And then I notice the feeling in my body and I just sit with it. And then I even like, for me, I can actually see the energy moving and it looks kind of like a pattern in me. And then I just allow it to like leave me or release. That's literally that simple.
It's crazy because that's what I do in EMDR.
Yeah. It's
She's like,
literally
she
that
like
simple.
has me close my eyes. She's like, what color is it? Like, what
I
does
was
it
just gonna
look
say.
like? And then she goes, pull it out of you now and imagine in front of you instead of like in your body. And like what, and then she tells me to label it. Like, what is it telling you to say? Oh, it's making me feel abandoned. Why did the word abandonment come up? Like, or whatever. And then you like,
yes. And the thing is the
through
more you do this or the higher in frequency you go is what I would call it. The easier it is for you to actually process things out. So like for before it would take me like freaking weeks and weeks and weeks to process one pattern or one thing that I would like, and it would like drive me into like insanity. Right. But now sometimes it's as quick as like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, right? Some pattern that I thought would take me like a long time to release. Just like, oh, it just released,
Well, and for anyone who's not familiar with EMDR, so EMDR is trauma release, right? And there are other modalities, but it's the exact same process. But processes like RRT, RTT, hypnosis, EMDR, these are all doing the same process, but for your past self, because your body keeps a score, your body holds on to these emotions. And ultimately, when you feel a feeling, it creates a chemical change in your body, right? Cortisol increases, adrenaline rises. And so those need to be processed in order to be released. But when you're a child, when you were in a susceptible state, you can't process those. And so oftentimes the work is that hard shit of going to your past and doing it. But one of the, for me, the easiest way and and the way that I coach people through processing emotions is to describe it like you're talking to an alien who's never felt it. So if you're sitting in your car, something happens and you literally just like type out on your phone, it feels like there's this green energy in my gut and it's tight and it's made of this, and like really just like kind of personalize it. You can at the peak of an emotion, you can only hold it in your body for 90 seconds. Wow. And so if you just really bring attention, I mean, they're literally called feelings because we're supposed to feel them, but most of us intellectualize them, which is the fun part of being human.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's all about feeling your emotions.
Feeling your feelings.
That's why we're here.
It's like, and then there's this whole side of like men, how they were raised to like block out a lot of their emotions. And then women are here feeling all these things and then wanting to connect with them more. There's like all these.
But I also think women don't necessarily feel them. They react to them. Men suppress them, women react to them. So, and that's what can be confusing when you're learning emotional intelligence and when you're growing, because you're like, no, I am. Like, I remember in college being like, I am feeling my feelings. But I was like, no, I was just like lashing out and like, I don't know. So, but it's true. Like, so if you're taking any action because of the actions, and that's the anxious text, the like calling and checking up, the like all of those, that's just you reacting to your feelings. That's not you feeling it. But it feels like you're feeling it, and you think that you're feeling it because there's some momentum behind it. But really it's just about that mindful processing and actually just sitting and feeling. If you are doing anything other than sitting somewhere, you are not feeling your feelings.
Also, like a big thing today is everyone's trying to run away from their feelings. So like scrolling on social media, like you have a negative thought, you distract yourself. I should go hang out with someone. I should go hang out with my friend. I should watch TV. I should scroll on social media. I should do anything else other than focus on how I'm feeling, because it's so scary to face ourselves.
But every time we do that, and look, I'm freaking human. I'll turn on Netflix, right, and watch like Love Is Blind. I freaking love that.
I was just watching that too.
I'm gonna watch the next episodes that came out today. But every single time we turn to the distraction or the reaction or whatever it is, we are literally buying into our current reality. We're literally buying into the matrix, our matrix of our reality. We're literally buying into it. And actually in like actually feeling it and processing it and being like, whoa, I'm not this freaking thing that's controlling my life, right? That's actually that's like the first step to like breaking through the illusion of your matrix of energy that's then creating everything in your reality, right? That's like the portal. That's like, and that's why I always say like the portal to the next level is actually through the present moment. It's actually through this moment in time. It's through your circumstances in this present moment. Not like over there, not what you're trying to drink, whatever. It's right here. This is the portal.
And the portal, you go through the portal by feeling your feelings.
Yes, by like actually, and then the way I see it too, to add on to this, is like whenever I do that, like whenever that happens and you actually process through it to its, nth degree or whatever, you go, whoa, like, and then the thought just comes, even if that horrible thing did happen, it's not the end of the world. Wow. And that's how you detach, right? That's how you let go of the attachment. And you're like, whoa, like there's a whole other reality where that just doesn't matter. And then you can see and then that's where the universe can actually deliver to you higher possibilities, right? A higher path, because you're no longer in this muck over here reacting, right? You're actually like, no, I'm actually up here. Oh, and there's a door over there. Oh, and there's opportunity there. And there's, you know what I mean? Right? So like, let's say even with love, it's like, and I get, I've been there many times, where you're just like, oh my God, no, this person, like blah, 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 right? But if actually you just sat with you, you're like, okay, well, what if they actually did leave my life? What if they just weren't there, right? And it feels shit, and you're going to go through all your low self-worth and all those fears and all the crap. But then when you actually get to the other side of processing through all of that, guess what happens? Oh my God, I can meet that person over. Like, and we don't think about it, but it's like, yeah, okay, your current partner might be freaking amazing and hot and sexy and smart and have a good job. Did you ever think there's someone even better? right? Like we never really think about that when in a relationship, but like there is, guys, there is. There's always something better and there's always someone better. Always.
Okay, this is kind of a tangent, but something I've been experiencing this week is being on the other side of so much, a lot of loss, a lot of grief, a lot of like building this new life, and then being like, is it safe here? Like, it's like this unfamiliarity, I guess. And just being like, wait a second, is it and some grief that comes up with that.
Yes. Wait, this is insane. Because a client literally was just talking about this yesterday. Grief when you step on the other side of your old version.
And I thought for a long time that and I do think that there's truth to this, that every time I create something, there is some sadness to me. Like usually the first feeling I feel is sadness because I want to share it with my dad, and I'm like, I don't get to like see his expression and like share it with him. But I also think that like I've kind of been thinking, like I've just assumed that that's the sadness, and I think it also is like, oh, that past life is like gone.
Oh my god, this is so weird that this is coming up.
That is so strange.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a thought that probably comes up when you're in a very serious relationship. You're like, oh, I'm no longer with my old me. You know, if I like am choosing this or like a new career or new,
I think it was for me, it was this, my partner had a lot of successes this week and I was so proud of him, and it made me be like, it actually triggered some identity wounds of being like, why would this person be with me?
Wow. Yeah.
Which was like really interesting.
You know, like the whole like mourning the past life kind of a thing. Like, okay, so I'm just going to ask because this is what's coming up a lot actually. It's like, do you guys ever feel like, you know, there's times you're like, wait, life can be this good?
Question mark?
Question. Yeah. Can I allow life to be easy and good and free? And then there's like actually a fear associated with actually not having the challenges that you used to have. There's like a deep fear. And I think that, and this is really what it boils down to, at least from my like perspective personally, is it makes you realize, like, it makes you see everything from a higher perspective, which is like, oh my God, life is so precious, right? Like you're mourning the past self, you're mourning like, you know, what has come before and who you were and all of the, you know, all the hardship, but all the amazing things too, and all the touching moments and all the mistakes that you made. And you're actually seeing it from this higher perspective of almost like, oh my God, I'm so cute. Like human life is so precious, right? And actually that's really the fear behind every single fear is like actually seeing through the illusion.
Oh,
sorry.
You know what I mean? Like seeing through the illusion of like the beauty of life and how it doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
And like, but like we gifted this to ourselves. Like we gifted it to ourselves to be here and have this human experience. And it's like, you get to a place where things are really good and you're like, whoa, like I did it. And that's actually kind of like emotional. You know what I mean?
Sure.
What's that idea of like, or not? It's like your fear is that you're more powerful.
Yes.
Than
that's exact. It's is that Marianne Williamson? Yeah. It's exactly that. That's the greatest fear of all.
Yeah.
It really is.
And then there's also some, for me, it's always also a twinge of sadness of being like, why wasn't I here a little sooner? But also just like, yeah. And I think also we are conditioned with like, oh, the shoe will drop. Or if you've experienced just isolation and pain for so long, then it's like, what if this is fleeting and I need to like latch on to it kind of thing. It's very human.
Definitely. I know.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
I know. It's so wild that the real answer at the end of it all is to let go. And it's so hard.
My God.
I know.
Yes.
It's hard not to attach and like want things to stay, and like the real answer is always just letting go.
Oh my God, but that's what oh God, okay, I'm sorry. I'm taking everything to really dark places here. But that actually is what the ultimate surrender is death, right? Because that is the ultimate surrender of like this existence. And then we think it's so scary. Oh my God, like surrender, we have such a weird relationship with surrender, weird relationship with death, when really death to me is actually you're just waking up. It's just your next level of just waking up, right?
And it's I mean, because the result I always help clients with is fame, right? And I've seen at like clockwork, it's an ego death. It's like loss of self, it's loss of identity. And yet you find yourself on the other side and it's so much more. And like I was telling a friend, I was like, it's kind of like you know, when you have a show and you're like, oh my God, like I'm so excited for you to watch this. And like, I want to watch it with you so I can like watch it through your eyes. Yeah. That's, I think, the privilege of being a coach, but also just when someone does have an ego death, just being able to be like, oh my God, like it's going to be so like it's about to get so good. And all these things that are hurting. And like, I think it's like safe to get your hopes up that actually your dreams will make you happier, because sometimes I think that the messaging is like, oh, but you're going to have it all and you're still not going to have it all. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and you're still going to have bad, which is true. You are still going to have insecurities and bad days and whatever. But it's I don't know. For me, it's just been a very different experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like the having it all thing, I mean, that's a definition. There's a different definition for having it all. Like everyone has their own definition of having it all. And there are some people who do have it all, and because I see this, and they're still like not happy, and they're still not lit up because they approached having it all from the framework of I'm not good enough, like I need to prove myself to the world. And so they realize that once they get it all from that place of forcing it, pushing it, whatever, they're like, oh wait, this isn't actually fulfilling the lack of wholeness that I actually was feeling inside. And so there is that true aspect to that as well. But if you do it the proper way, like you heal, you process, you release, whatever, and all that stuff, then it's like, then the biggest fear does become, wait, can I have it? Is it okay? Is it okay? Is it safe to have it all? Is it okay to have it all?
Exactly.
Is this gonna last? Well, what's the price I need to pay?
Totally. Well, and that's what like, I mean, why I think there's so many like one-hit wonders, but also so many people who in Hollywood die by suicide is because 100%. And I've worked with people that I'm like, oh shit, that's where you're headed right now, because they do have it all and they thought, oh, if I have it all, then I'll feel happy, and now there's nothing else to work for. So that's the real ego death.
100%. Yeah.
I don't know where to go from here. This was
sorry.
Good. We went down.
I took it down.
No, I like it. It was good though. We went really good. We went in the depths. Right. When I had both of you guys on my podcast separately, I was like, I need to get a podcast episode of both you guys together, all of us in a room. So that's like an example of like, I felt your guys' energy. I literally talked to my sister about you guys when you guys left. I'm like, I felt like I have to have an episode with them. And I feel like this was such a good episode. And I feel like so many people listening are gonna be like, this was a sick episode. So I feel like that's an example of trusting your higher self, feeling people's energy, knowing, like trusting that, like, okay, something's good with this energy, moving it forward. These people are good to have around you. So yeah, it's an example of it. But I feel like that's a good way to wrap up. So you guys are both amazing coaches. So tell everyone where they can find you guys.
My Instagram at Paget Kagy, which is going to be in the title, or pagetkagy.com.
Yes, I love it. I'm at Whitney Uland or howtobefamous.org. Thank you so much for having us.
I love you guys. It was so
much
nice.
fun.
Thank
so
you.
Fun.